We'll call the meeting to order of the November 12th Urbana Free Library Board of Directors. Roll call.
John Thies.
Present.
Beth.
Here.
Chris.
Here.
Michael.
Here.
Barbara.
Here.
We're missing Lupe and Barbara Bennett and Sharice, and Jane Williams is here by phone.
So we have a quorum. Jane cannot vote, but she can express opinions.
She can vote.
Oh, she can vote, but it's not part of the quorum. That's
Right,
it. Yeah,
yes.
right. Are there any additions, corrections, or modifications to the agenda? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Do we have any public comments? And I think the public comments that I'd like to make is, I'm glad to see some public here tonight.
Yes.
We hope that you express your opinion tonight.
Of course.
At this time, I think I'll start with Amanda with the strategic plan overview, kind of
Yes,
outline.
hello, good evening. Sorry, let me get rid of my keys so I'm not hanging around. So by now you know my routine. I'm here to tell you about our strategic planning process, what we've done so far, what we still have yet to do, what we're going to do tonight. This is the last time you'll hear me recite all of the things that we've done and where we've been and where we're going. Because after tonight, hopefully we'll make final revisions to the plan and you will approve it next month. This planning process actually started last December, so we've been at this for about a year. We've been very intentional and deliberate about who we've included in the process and how we've moved forward. The process has been guided by a process team, thanks to those of you in the audience who participated in the process team, and you heard from them last month as they presented the plan. We spent a lot of time learning. That was really how we wanted to ground our plan in our strengths. We wanted the board to really think about the strengths. We wanted to hear from the community. We did that in multiple ways. We put together a learning report. So from January all the way through July, we learned about a lot of things in a lot of different ways. And that was that whole beginning phase that resulted in our learning report that you all reviewed and that now will become part of the strategic plan document. After the learn phase, we've moved a little more swiftly, and hopefully no one's gotten any whiplash. We brought you all along, but between August and the end of September was our dream phase, and so that basically was our two retreat sessions, our board retreat and our staff retreat. The board really focused on our strategic directions, our goals. The staff spent time thinking about activities and what implementation might look like. All of those things then got brought together in the do phase, where we actually wrote the plan. We developed the one-page plan, which is now on the wall behind you, and it was in your packets. And last month then, the process team presented the plan to you for your comment. We finalized the vision and mission last month. After we hear tonight from members of our Friends and Foundation board, this board will get to go back and just give one last look at everything, specifically focusing on vision, mission, and the 4 strategic directions. And we'll take that back, we'll make any revisions that we need to, and then in December we'll present a final product for your approval. After, that's the beginning. So I like to tell boards that I work with that having the actual plan document in place is really just the start. So you may all feel like, oh my gosh, we've been at this a year and we haven't even started. That's absolutely true. After the board adopts the plan is when the real work begins. So staff will then take on building an activity plan or an implementation plan, whatever you'd like to call it, but really that's what will guide the work that will go to achieving our goals. As we've talked before, the goals in this plan are ones that are ongoing. They're not an end point. Truly, this plan is intended for the library to switch the way they operate to a process of continuous improvement and strive towards these goals for quite a while, not just the life of this plan, but hopefully beyond that too. During implementation, we'll also think about how we're evaluating the plan, how we're reporting on the plan. All of those things are yet to come, and so there's a lot more work that really will just kick off when the board approves the plan. So I'm going to actually turn it over to Barbara Jones right now to facilitate the section with the Friends and Foundation Board, and then I'll be back to facilitate the last section. So Barbara.
Oh, okay, thank you very much.
And I'm going to take notes.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, so I'm so happy to see y'all here. It's great. Thank you so much for coming. I love it that all of us are meeting together, the foundation and the Friends and the library board. So thank you all for reviewing this and being so thoughtful about this. I can assure you that we all have been too, and Jane, thank you for your input. I was the other representative. Jane and I were the representatives to the whole overall planning structure. So we had a lot of meetings and did a lot of reading and a lot of work. So we've really put a lot into this, and I want to thank you, Amanda, Celeste, and everybody. I have never been so impressed with it, and I'm 72 and been a librarian for 40 years, 45, and I have honestly never worked with such a thoughtful group of staff. It was just incredible what we got out of this from the Urbana Free Library staff. So it's just really important to have this input and for us to meet together, so thank you. So I would now like to ask for feedback from anybody who wants to about this, particularly, well, it can be about anything, but we want to get this approved and get moving here, so I call now for any kind of feedback on anything you've read or seen or... Come on. Yes, good, yes.
I can't resist it.
Good.
This is one of the best strategic plans I've ever seen. And about a month or two ago, we saw the first version of it. It had 60 pages of numbers and tables.
Yes.
And that's all been made sense of it in here. Well done. I think it builds on things that we do well, and it allows us to subtract some new things as well. It's certainly achievable. One of my pets would probably be the checkout area, circulation area. That could be a named project, do whatever. I think this is a great plan. It's going to be, and it's solid. This will work.
Thank you. I wanted to add to that what was fun for us, I think I can speak for everybody, is it was a plan that, I have so many colleagues out there who started from a place of community anger or community dissatisfaction. And here it's almost like an embarrassment of riches. It was, if some of you looked at the charts about what should you do, or it's like everybody wants to do everything in this community, but it's not like a matter of improve it. It's just like keep doing these wonderful things. So in some ways it's a different kind of challenge. I mean, because there are so many things we do and can do well. But thank you very much. Other comments?
I was wondering, there's so many of the things as I read through, it's a long document, and what Celeste sent on the email, and from what Amanda said, you're still going to refine your measurement tools and everything too, because I thought, well, gee, how are they going to measure this, and when are the measurements going to take place, and then when are they going to have plan B, C, or D, but then I figured maybe I was jumping the gun.
I've been a good
Introduce
component
themselves
of,
as well and say what
Oh,
organization
I'm
they're from.
sorry, yes.
I'm
Yeah.
Sharon Girth, I'm the treasurer of the Friends.
I've been a real proponent of
Yeah.
the next steps.
Yeah.
It's been
Exactly.
hard for me to sit and listen to all this generalities.
Right.
I did think that one thing that struck me was in the report gathering of information. We went to a lot of sources. The committee went to a lot of sources. And I think there was some shocking information. The poverty in this community stood out higher than most anything else in the report, I think. We can't do it all. I think we will have to pick and choose some things, but I am particularly in the mode that I think that we need to get started. We've been comfortable in this building. We're pushing out the walls, and I think it's time for us to think big and do things that the community wants done.
Yes.
I'm John Palin with the foundation.
Yeah, thanks.
And I agree, this is, I've gone through strategic planning a couple of times. This is the best one I have seen. And it's a serious plan. It really gets down to some plans, some goals, and some activities that could make a significant difference in this community. I'm very excited about it. I do think the message is a little hard to access. The goals of fostering community diversity, knowledge, and sustainability, that's not exactly the terminology that you folks use, but that's where I am on it. They are on the cover, they're on the one page, but really they begin to be explained in terms that they can really be understood about on page 12, I think, and that's when they're linked with specific concrete actions that the library might very well take, and I think that's pretty important to do, because I think with a lot of the public, they're very interested in that. They're interested in what concrete things might be done. I really like opening with the library history. That's a really well-written document. It gives a sense of the library's role in the community. But I think it's a mistake, just in terms of the organization of the document, to follow that with a description of how the plan was developed. I think that needs to be in there someplace, but not yet. I think the history should be followed immediately by a discussion of the goals, plus specific actions that could be taken. For example, just the ones that jumped out at me: expansion of materials in Spanish and Chinese. In foreign languages, but then if you dive into the public response in Spanish and Chinese. Increased attention to residents who are homeless or foreign-born. That's a big issue, and I'm sure you can supply your own. The technical material and how the study was done could be later, and with that, a barrier is the difficulty, the reading difficulty of it. I did some readability, just some convenient readability studies of it, and that section of the report is at college or above reading level. And it's pretty hard for people to get through. The history of the library is at 12th grade level, which is much more comfortable than college or above. By contrast, I took a couple of convenient samples from the New York Times and the New Yorker, and they are around 8th grade. So I would recommend doing some editing on the report to get most of it down to no more than a 12th grade level. I think in some sense you want this to be a document that communicates to the public as well as internally with all of us. So I think that's just a really important thing to do.
And people with a second language, it might be that applicable too.
Oh,
Easier to
absolutely.
read.
Yeah, absolutely. Get it down to 8th grade if possible. As a journalist, I was told write for a 6th grade audience. Otherwise, people will kind of start in the sand, dragging in the sand, and they'll just quit. So again, I want to say how much I appreciate all the hard work that has gone into the study. I know how hard it is to put all of this together, and I really think it's a great study. But I would just suggest these two things: just a little disorganization of the order in which material is presented, and some editing to make it easier to read. So thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from anybody?
It's actually, it's really interesting because first, I'm thinking, who is our audience for the plan?
Yeah.
And who's going to take the time to read it? And as you know, we've got two completely separate audiences, I think, for the most part. in my work position, I'm going through a strategic planning process, probably, I don't know, the 100th strategic plan in my life. And I will say that this is probably one of the best I've gone through.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, when we brought it out for focus groups, what we were criticized on the most was the business speak, the strategic planning speak, which as planners, we find it really good shorthand.
Yeah.
And we know exactly what these words mean, and it's a mode of efficiency for us to get our thoughts out.
Right.
But then the people who it's meant for complain very loudly that, can you just say this in plain English?
Yes.
So this is
Yeah,
interesting feedback.
it is interesting.
Because it's, okay.
Yeah.
Some people then, in the audience, don't want the 6th grade reading level.
Here, here.
And some say, especially, this is a library. You should be setting a higher standard. And you should be setting a standard of language that people should aspire to be able to read and understand. But if you take a look at this plan, what we're really talking about is a very inclusive plan for the whole community.
Yeah.
And we're wanting to reach people maybe
Yeah.
we've not done such a good job of traditionally reaching.
Good point.
And that may speak to having more accessible language.
Yeah.
Yes.
When
So
comes
that
the
might be.
audience for a strategic plan, though? Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, I'm Courtney Bex, and I'm on the foundation board. I think that impulse makes a lot of sense. On the other hand, I think that strategic plan is necessarily a pretty specialized document. Just mentioning that.
Do you think by writing it on a 12th grade level, we're saying to anybody in the community, you don't really belong on the board in the future, or this isn't really you, or that it's condescending in some ways to make it too high?
I think it's condescending to imagine that something written on the level that high school graduate could understand. To consider that condescending is in itself condescending.
Yeah, I agree with your comments, particularly about the order. There's something a little overly ingrown inside baseball about having the materials and methods section first rather than as an appendix. So we get to the business end, people who want to dig into how we got there. And it probably doesn't matter a great deal exactly what level that, how we get a data section is written in, as long as we get right away to things that,
John, I
Planning.
too am a journalist, and I feel you write the story in reverse. The most important things in the process is not. So I think we could vary that, and those who want to read it will read it. Those who not, it delays getting into. So I agree 100%. In terms of the grade level, do you feel, I'm interested in your remark, do you feel insulted by a normal newspaper?
Do I feel insulted by a normal newspaper?
And I don't know what normal is, so.
Yeah.
Nothing news Gazette right now.
For 6th grade level, or 6th grade.
Yeah.
New York Times is 6th grade level.
Sometimes I edit articles from the New York Times.
Because we wanted people, I've always
No,
tried
I
to.
don't find it
Okay,
highfalutin
Okay.
at all.
That's why I included the New Yorker.
Yeah, yeah.
The flesh test on the New Yorker is 6th to 8th.
That surprises me.
No, I know about it.
I don't know about that.
Well, that was just a
I'm sorry.
convenient sample. That's what, you're right, it was just a convenient sample, it wasn't a sample of the whole magazine.
one of the terms we have used in journalism is right to express, not to impress. So I think that's the whole gist of it.
One thing I thought is really impressive in documents like this is where the recommendations are made clearly. And I think the kind of rearrangement you're talking about is to lay into what the conclusions are fast rather than bury them at the end. I thought this was great, and I have one serious suggestion. My background is National Opinion Research Center and a lot of courses in survey design and analysis, and these tables need fixing. There's some seriously things wrong with the tables. I'd be happy to work with the staff and do it. I'm not saying the outcome is wrong. I'm saying that the statistician who read it would say, "Oh," and I don't think you want that. But it's not. It wouldn't change. It wouldn't change the conclusions, but it's just that the presentation is very iffy in some places.
Is it terminology or standards or?
No, it's, one thing is insignificant digits and percentages. And if you have a sample of 1,200, for example, which is yours, 1,1300, that's 95% confidence, that's plus or minus 3%. And so if you get an answer of 47%, it's actually 44 to 50%. And some of these tables take it to 47.29%. And the last two digits are totally insignificant. And the one before them, before the decimal point, is a little shaky. And that's the kind of thing I think that ought to be cleaned up. There ought to be, every table ought to indicate sample size. You see that in tables and equals. And it's just proper, it's more, as a friend of mine in the stat department used to say, it's table manners. It's not really.
I'm glad you said that, because I was sitting there thinking, nah, I just won't bother to bring that up.
But I said, it wouldn't change the meaning of it, it wouldn't change the conclusions, but I would love to get my hands on it and try to fix those things.
I've been sitting here thinking, Fred has already committed himself, so.
Yeah, good.
John?
Well, first of all, I think the comments are all excellent, and all should be factored in as the board considers the next step. I wanted to react to a couple of things that were said. I think that the goal is to be effective. It begs the question of what effective means to us. Effective, primarily to me, means advancing the ball and accomplishing, a better system. That's priority one. I think we need to be credible, though, and that's why language matters, and putting it in words that are understandable and measurable. That's important to us. It's also why I think Amanda put in the point about our methods up front, because part of what you're trying to do is also establish credibility. And when you start relatively early in a document explaining why everything you say after that is significant, that's the reason to do it, is to establish credibility. We went through an exhaustive process. Now, there are ways to work with that so that it's not so dominant. You're bearing the lead, to pick up on all the journalism we're talking about tonight. You can call attention to an appendix later that goes through the methods, but still, I think that's the reason why it was done the way that it was. But I think we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. We want to advance the mission, and we want to do it in a way that has credibility and buy-in.
Any other
For me, it's
comments?
a matter of not wanting to waste my time. If I have two documents, two versions of the same document, I'm going to read the one that sees you. Why not? Many years ago, Beth, you probably remember this too, when Pete Oliver and others were working on networking front ends for the military. They were instructed, signal writers were instructed to write for the 8th grade level. They didn't want people making mistakes. They could have written at the PhD thesis level.
Yeah. Well, I think to Mark's point, I think you can write in a way that it communicates the same thing, but it doesn't turn out like a George Will column. You can say the same, with due respect to Urbana's native George
Yeah,
Will.
right, I mean, really.
But no, I think you can do this in a way that communicates exactly the same thing without making it sound overly complicated. That's what we should be trying to do. I actually thought it was pretty far down that path.
Are there any other comments about this readability level? Because this is important, it seems to me. Is there a consensus about this, or?
I found that some of the brand names brought me up short. I had no idea what they were. I'd have to go back and look at it now, but I just remember that these were capitalized things that didn't register. I've been retired as a librarian too long. All I do is buildings, and I don't know about the rest of the stuff. But some of the electronic systems mentioned, that as if I should know about them, I found myself saying, huh, and then I went on. And I don't know whether you have a glossary at the end or what you do, but I would have liked to be able to flip back and find out what is this.
That's an interesting comment, because as a profession, we are always blamed for that. I mean, everything, and when I worked at ALA, it's like, we have too much professionalese that nobody else understands.
Yeah.
We all say, OC, and
Yeah.
it has meant 5 different things over, since it was founded. I mean, seriously.
Are you referring to things like, such as Mango Language Learning and lynda.com, things like
Yes.
that?
Lynda.com.
Yeah.
Some-
Yeah.
Specifically,
Okay.
those were the two that I kept,
Yes.
thank you for reading my mind.
Just want to say I use Mango Languages. I love that app.
Yes.
We don't know it, though.
One tiny point on, it says the board is, by board comprised of 9 appointed trustees.
Yep.
Just, I know that usage gradually changes over time, and
Not that
sometime
far.
after we're dead, that will become the standard usage, but it grates right now. It's also a little snotty, just consists of, or comprising, but,
Anyhow, yeah, I had to circle that, I thought it was,
yeah, so just one word.
but it's just a few things like that you could, are easy to fix, but I would love to have a chance to butt in. You might not like that at all, but at any rate, I offer.
Amanda, how would you like to handle the editing, let's put it?
That's up to the board.
Okay. I guess I'm thinking,
Fred, be
I
careful.
I
Be careful
really
what you ask
value
for.
Fred's response, and I think most of us in this room respect Fred and would like to have his. If other people have things, I guess it's mark up your copy and turn it in.
Yeah, I think.
That's the only thing. I think.
Well, what I would like to see is a red line strikeout version by committee, as opposed to
Yeah,
by
yes,
4
yes,
different people.
Yeah,
I
that's a
think
good-
Can I
That's
just
what-
that would make it
point out
easier.
that that's happened already, actually? So there were 9 community ambassadors, actually, that went through and did
Oh,
that piece. I'm not saying that we shouldn't on another level, but we did vet a particular group of people that volunteered to do that piece for us.
Okay, that's good too.
But I think we're getting some variances.
For the
tonight, too.
new changes. that
I was
will-
just making sure you understood that we've already done this at
Yeah.
least once.
Oh, I'm
Yes,
sure.
yeah, we know.
I agree with you, John, yeah. Too many, having 9 of them would
many
be
cooks, right.
daunting.
Yeah.
Any other comments? No other comments? But what, do you have, there have been some questions raised. Any other questions or things you didn't understand?
Is your question here, Jane?
I think that's Tom.
Do you have a question, Jane? No. Okay.
Well, then, I have a suggestion of a change. I would like to strike,
So,
of course.
We're gonna discuss this.
yeah, so are you concluding the portion with the Friends and Foundation?
I am ready to conclude it unless somebody's feeling like, oh, I didn't get to say what I think, or oh, I agree, or I disagree, or anything. Hearing nothing, then I guess I will thank you all for your input and that, John?
So I was just going to suggest to close the loop. I think if there are going to be further comments that are, tangible comments that the group wants the board to consider, I think it'd be most helpful if those were accumulated and put into a red line strikeout suggestion, and then the board would have enough time to consider those
That's a good
suggested
idea.
changes.
Yeah.
That seems to be the right way to get to the next step, where the
I
board
agree.
will have to make the ultimate decision.
Yeah, makes sense. It's kind of efficient.
Yes, official, yeah. Okay.
So would you anticipate us accepting the report tonight, or merely having discussed it, we move on?
We're doing that next
Okay,
time.
that's what I thought.
So the plan tonight was for the board to receive this feedback, which is great. It sounds like that you have decided you would like to do another round of revisions. That likely means it will not be ready for approval in December. However, the board, I think the next step on the agenda was for the board to look at the vision, mission, and the 4 strategic directions again, because I know, Barbara, you have at least one comment. There was a comment forwarded by the process team as well, too. So are we ready for that section?
Well, hold on a second. Why wouldn't we be ready in December? Because as I understand, as long as the board gets the suggested changes before the next meeting, why wouldn't we be in a position to say, we like this, we don't like that, such that we can finish?
Right, so you'll be receiving another draft of the document that you may have other comments on at that point as well. I guess I'm not sure of the process because this,
So if we get the draft, and if we still have questions and comments on it, we might not get them all
it won't
resolved
be
at
the
December
final
8th. So we have to be
draft. It'll just be
prepared
another draft.
to have it spill over one more month, if we don't
Okay.
agree or we need more follow-up.
I just wasn't as fatalistic as.
Are you planning to, let's say there are some things turned in to you, are you planning to work on that between now and the next board meeting? Because you've
I'm
got
not
some-
clear that I'm the one that it's being turned into.
So this is, officially, we are now into 6.3, the library board discussion. So this is part of what we're waiting for feedback on. What is it you, the board, want us to do? Now, again, as Amanda mentioned, there may be some other pieces that you want to discuss that there might be changes for. So I wonder if you want to talk about all the potential changes and then talk about a process
Yes.
after that?
Yes.
That's
Maybe
okay.
get all
We're
the
just-
changes out there.
Yes.
That, I would like to do that.
So that we've got, but those need to
All
be
of them.
presented.
Right
Yes,
now, right.
yes.
Well, not tonight, but handed in.
Oh, well.
I mean, I don't expect Fred to go through as his office.
No, that's the next part of the process. I'm talking about
Yeah.
any board comments tonight. We want to
okay,
hear
yeah,
anything the board members
Okay.
have, and then we can then
Okay.
figure out the next steps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments by board members then?
Yes, I would like to strike the word.
The page is not copied.
I would, on this page,
Page 11.
okay, page 11, I would like to, from the embrace part, strike the word civility. I don't like that word when it applies to libraries at all. It's very controversial right now in the library community. I'm not saying whether this is right or wrong, but it's going to be a red flag word. There are a lot of discussions now about how the predominant cultural, the majority in this country have decided what civility is, and marginalized people don't always have the same definition, and they feel it is a term used to oppress.
So Barbara, are you suggesting just simply removing it?
Yes.
Or do you have a different
No,
one? Okay.
I don't.
How do others feel about removing
I've
that?
thought of other, I can't come up with another one, but I'm certainly open to.
I think there should be another word. We're not on the board. If you kick this out yourself. I mean, why not civilly or decently toward one another? Without shouting, without yelling.
Respect has been brought up.
Also,
But-
this is, not to be funny, this is a board discussion, not an audience discussion. So just want to,
We can't call on the board,
I think we could,
audience?
they can express their opinion. Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Okay, so that's my
Okay.
comment.
So how the rest of the board feel about removing the word or replacing it?
So I'm just trying to think whether it takes away from this area of embrace. So if we cultivate equity and belonging, I guess belonging is by learning about and responding to our community, it almost feels a little thin. It just, because equity is one thing, belonging is another, but is civility, I take your point in saying, okay, maybe
Yeah.
there needs to be a different word, but what it was trying to get across was, I think, the feeling of respect.
What about civic engagement? I know it's a totally different thing, but it is embracing. If you engage civically, everybody's like talking together. I don't know. It's not the same thing, but I just,
It isn't the same thing.
I
Because
know.
I think civility is how we interact.
Right.
So,
I don't have the same negative reaction to that. Civility, to me, at least in my profession, it's very important that people act that way, and you're in a different world, so I'm not sure why it's a problem.
so if it's more of a behavior word that we're looking for, is kindness a word that might replace civility?
Kindness is kind of it's not a real strong word.
Sure.
Inclusion, but that's not the same thing either.
That's belonging, it's inclusion.
Yeah. I just can't tell you how much controversy I believe this word will cause.
I'm always for
Just
taking
knowing
words-
my community the way I do. It's just,
I may be out of line because I'm not on the board. Can you say mutual respect?
That's,
I like that better than respect.
yeah. I like
Mutual
that too.
respect, I think, is
like
the
it.
closest to civility, because it is a behavior.
Yeah.
And I'd like to respect, but even that was not quite, but mutual
Yeah,
respect.
mutual respect. And then it feels thicker. I agree
Yeah,
with that.
I think-
It's not as thin.
does anybody disagree with that one? That changes one thing. I don't think we need a motion on it. Do you feel we do?
No,
We
we're.
just update
we're-
the draft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And you can look
yeah, it's
at
still
it
a
in
draft.
print
That's right.
and-
Yeah, I don't think we do.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move with that.
Mutual,
So the word that was brought forward by the process team that may need some more consideration is under enrich. And it's in that same definition part that you were pointing out, Barbara. And it's the word productive. So the suggestion is to replace productive with successful. Is that right, Celeste? Successful. Okay. So we connect people with tools and resources for learning and leading successful lives. Productive is too tied to a capitalist feeling that some people thought might be a little too much. So any feelings on successful?
I feel exactly the opposite.
Okay.
That successful can mean successful at a hedge fund or something, you know,
Sure.
which is.
But successful is individually defined versus productive does have
Right, but
other
suc-
constructs.
Successful includes predatory, and I like productive, like, you know.
How about
Productive is
fruit?
nice, it's good.
How about fruitful?
I like fruitful because,
Fruitful's good.
because
Yeah.
the other two almost have a little bit of, they're almost a little judgmental. They are productive, judgment, but fruitful is not such a judgmental word.
Yeah.
Are you successful? Judgmental. Are you productive? Judgmental. Are you fruitful? That's kind of better,
it could be
nicer.
both then.
Mhm.
Try fruitful.
Okay,
All right.
I think so.
That's good.
I hate that idea.
What do you want?
No,
I mean,
no, I'm teasing. That was my word.
Suggested.
and I didn't mean what do you want the way it sounds.
Thank God we want civility, because otherwise.
See? I'm civil.
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't.
So
something
other
very
comments on vision, mission, or the strategic directions?
I have one more comment since we've got some time.
Sure.
I just really don't like these colors, and I know it's just, but if nobody else, but I'm not good at that. As my knitting friends will readily, they always tell me what colors to use together, so if everybody else is happy with it, I'm not gonna say
But we
anything.
did go from the yellow to the orange, didn't we?
No, it's the same
No, this
color.
is the
So
same.
the library has, over the past
Princess.
year, been moving towards new colors. This is part of the branding scheme. There are other colors with this palette as well. This will eventually go into a new website. We're trying these for now.
Okay.
But I would agree with you that orange, the white on orange is harder to read. The others are not as hard to read.
I like the green. I was thinking, I see a lot of green now, but just,
I don't think the other three are really a problem. It's a readability problem in my mind.
for me, it's just,
Oh, you don't like
Color.
orange?
I wouldn't, well, no, I just wouldn't want a sweater these colors. for example. I know, I don't mean to sound trivial.
We don't have plans to make a sweater, so that's
I
a
know,
good
I
thing.
know.
But we have
Maybe
a
I should
sample
make a
library
sweater.
card behind you of how we might potentially use the colors in
Yeah,
combination.
okay.
This, you're right that the one-page plan does have more color on it versus how we might use these in the future. The cover to the plan also is a little more subtle. Yes, and you can see on the back of your bookmark, this is a potential document that we would use to roll out the plan and communicate it. These are just ideas. I mean, these, again, we haven't actually talked about implementation yet because the plan's not final, so. So, thank you.
My quick reaction to that is that matters of branding, believe it or not, they benefit greatly from expertise that I don't have.
That I don't either.
And I've gone through this in multiple organizations, and I've learned
Yeah.
to gravitate toward people that analyze the 37 different things that I won't think of.
Yeah.
And so before I would say definitively this is good or this is bad, I do kind of, it's pleasant to me, but before
Okay.
I would rule it out, I think I wouldn't want to get in too much to the micromanaging of the graphic design people that are really good
Yeah.
at deciding, does it fit in an iPhone? Does it fit
Yeah.
on your PC or an iPad or whatever?
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. I remember when the university changed the orange color, I was still, and I remember, and I don't want to do that. I'm not, because I'm not an expert at this at all, but.
Yeah, it does look different on screen for sure.
Actually, yeah. It's nice on screen.
Yeah. So we have these two changes. Are there any others before we talk about the process for moving forward?
If I leave, we do, don't we?
Yeah, we both have to go.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Thanks. Do we
You
need
can
to-
vote, but we won't have the quorum.
So we need to get
Yeah,
some
thank
things.
you very much.
Yeah, let's,
We're gonna move, yeah, we're gonna lose a quorum when Chris leaves.
so we better move fast in improving.
Okay, so I have two changes. I would love for the board to give instruction on other changes they'd like to see and to spell out a process for moving forward.
Okay, I have no further changes.
Nor do I.
I don't either.
Okay, so I do not have clear direction about switching the order of the plan and/or completely revising the learning report.
Well, okay, I would suggest to the board that the order, while maybe it can be minimized and there are ways to do that, I wouldn't take the points completely out of that position in the report. I might shorten it and then have an appendix saying, here's everything we did, just because I think it gives us a stronger footing to say what the plan is later.
I would shorten it greatly and then have a pointer to the appendix. Maybe one sentence or two sentences saying, we conducted in-depth surveys, community, trying to reach out to as many people as possible, and base our estimate of what's needed on that. Full description of the processes in the appendix. Just, really short so that it doesn't hang above.
I think that states it well.
That, and then I think you could go into kind of an appendix that gives all the detail that you've listed.
Right.
Yeah, then basically this whole
Yeah.
section that's
Yeah.
there now just becomes Appendix 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay,
I'm fine with that.
we can do that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Jane, how are you with that? Moving the bulk of the process language to an appendix and giving more of a shorter summary of our process?
it's not,
Maybe.
maybe isn't there.
Well, then, to your question about the process,
Well,
You're
about
still-
the
Red line.
learning
are you
report,
still
that's
waiting?
still
Are
unresolved.
you still waiting?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I would like to move to the next item. You got what you need?
We have to finish the,
No.
how, we have to
She-
quickly come
Amanda
up
needs
with
to
our
know
process.
what we want from her.
Whether
I'm
the
not clear
language-
about, there's two more pieces that are unresolved. One is revising the learning report in some way. And two then is, are you ready for a final draft at the next meeting, or is it still in draft form at the next meeting?
Okay, so would we like to look at the learning report, make some of the suggested revisions as far as how the tables are set up, the insignificant digits in some of the numbers? Would we like to work with Fred, who's volunteered, and others to have a more professional look, or whatever the word, you're the person for the tables?
I'd advocate having Fred go over the tables and clean them up, and not doing the overall reduction of reading level. That's a lot of work, and if we thought that it was going to be read by anybody in the public, yeah, it would be worth doing the work, but since we don't, it's not, and it would be nice to move on to
Yeah.
actually doing stuff instead of.
But I think the
playing with words.
credibility that Fred talks about is really strong.
I think it's important, but I also think time is important here, and also the amount of work we've all put in. And Fred, this isn't to take away from your expertise at all. I just really think we should get the advice on the tables and then move on.
I could sit down with Amanda for a couple hours with you.
Okay.
I think I should be clear in that I did not write the learning report.
I know you did.
Yeah, so,
And I'll sit down with Fred.
Okay.
You do what?
I'll sit down with Fred.
Okay, okay.
So what that leaves us with,
If that's
is-
what
I think it
Yes.
means that we've got another draft, really.
unfortunately.
Well,
I would just ask,
we might have a red line.
We might have a red
That
line.
we could approve.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
okay.
So I don't know that, I mean, it sounds, this is coming together very nicely. This is a lot better than what it could be. But I think we might have a red line. We don't have to, if we need more time, we can always, as a board, decide that. But we could also have a red line that we could approve, and it would be the final.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, we
Okay.
can do that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to move on to the consent agenda, and they're listed there, and I'm not going to run through them. Do I have a motion to approve the consent
Do you need to
agenda?
remove anything
So,
from, do you need to remove anything from the consent?
Is there anything that needs to be removed? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve?
So,
You have to read them. Yeah.
I have to read them?
Yeah, just,
Yes.
Board minutes of October 9, payroll of October 11, payroll of October 25, payroll of November 8, bills of October 10, bills of October 18, bills of October 25, bills of October 25B, bills of November 1, and bills of November 8. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, in the action agenda, thank you. The budget amendment that we have before us is 2 departments have suggested. Do I hear a motion to approve those?
It's pretty
So moved.
straightforward.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Is there any discussion? If not, do I hear, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you for that one. The second, a cooperative agreement of December the 2004, notice of the 2-year possession of the Memorial Building. I think everybody knows what this is. Is there any question of what it is? It's just giving notice that we're not ready to receive it, basically, and it stays with the city ownership.
Okay.
We have to give 2 years' notice, and this is, in essence, giving a 2-year notice that we're not interested in taking possession of this.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
You got to call.
Thank you very much.
Call it.
At this time, I'm going to excuse myself, and we don't have a quorum, so I don't know where that takes you. You can't,
You're done voting.
we have all the motions made, but you can have administrative report and things like that, couldn't you? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, enjoy. Okay. So do we have, moving to section 10, do we have any reports from the Friends?
The Friends have a book sale next week, starting Thursday night. If you're a Friends member, you can get in Thursday night, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday will be the book sale.
And Monday, we try to give it away free.
Okay, yes, yes. And
$2 minimum.
we're going to have much better weather. We're really going to have much better
We're
weather.
hoping that the weather I saw tonight,
Yeah, yes, that will be better
It
next
has to be
week.
you
better.
can do your Christmas shopping too, because we'll have Christmas bundles.
Huh?
Yes, that would be wonderful.
Seriously decent books this time.
Good, good.
But it's amazing what we still collect from the community.
Oh, I bet.
To
It's a
sell.
great, it keeps on giving. I love about this community. Okay, well, thank you. Do we have a foundation report?
We do. The foundation is kicking off their fall campaign, and they had a lovely event last week, Thursday night at Silver Creek, to thank people who have given in the past and encourage future donation, and to get people together to mix and mingle. And you may receive your letter in the next couple days, letting you know about the campaign, which will be focusing on the corner lot and landscaping around the building, which is the same landscaping plan pretty much since the library opened in 2005. So giving an update to that, especially with MCOR coming down Green Street, is going to be a 2-year, looking out 2 years. The first year will be evaluating the land and what we think the library might want to have there. Perhaps hiring a landscape designer to provide some options for the library board. And then the second year, start with some implementation. So maybe some small things can happen. And as Farrell has said, tie it all in together with the Weber building and the corner lot and the landscaping around the building and create a more cohesive looking campus.
Well, that sounds really exciting.
It
I think
does.
we're all going to look forward to seeing
Yes.
what you come to these plans. It'd be great. Thank you. Do we have a report from Heartland?
We do. Heartland will be hosting a board networking event on November 26th at their Champaign office. They will, after networking, provide a presentation about tax increment financing districts or TIF districts, and I will be attending.
Great. Excellent. Thanks. Okay, moving on to the administrative reports. Anything you want to highlight?
Another busy month, a great staff doing fabulous things in the
Yes.
community. Lots of community interaction this month, especially.
There was so much programming.
Yes, oh man, yeah. Could I say a word about how wonderful, I know I've said this a million times, but the music programs and the cultural, and the collaboration between folk and roots, I just think is fabulous. The more the merrier, and as we move toward a new building or addition, I think we should think about that real seriously.
Some type of performance space?
Yeah, I was thinking about the Indian dancer too, you know, and how I thought, oh man, it would have been nice. She was here and dancing, and some of us in the back couldn't see it, and I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm just thinking.
I mentioned to Celeste how impressed I am with the increased marketing efforts. And there are just so many different ways I'm receiving information about the programs, whether it's a web page or the email. There's just this real nice flow of information, and the way it's done, you know, sometimes if it's like, okay, 2 months from now, we're gonna have this, and then nothing's said, then 2 months go by and you're busy with something else. But here, there's just all these kind of constant, gentle reminders. And so I just wanted to say kudos to all the efforts that are being made to get the word out about all these fabulous programs that we're having. It's just been very effective. So thank you for that. Okay, do we have any unfinished business? And this is,
Can we talk about the per capita?
Done.
After the October board meeting, I sent out an email to all of you that includes links to the requirements that we need to complete for the per capita in order to apply for the grant from the state of Illinois. And they always have a component of board education. And so there are some trustee facts file chapters that just kind of need you to click off. And then unfortunately Barbara Bennett's not here. She agreed to watch the organizational management webinar, but I wanted to encourage any of you. It's a 1-hour webinar on, but it's how libraries thrive in uncertain times, and it's actually a really interesting.
and I was like, I watched it. It's really good.
It is. It's not as boring as she oriented, and it just sounds like a snore. But the guy who presents it is very engaging, and he's very well known in the library field as well. But anyway, we were hoping to get, that's due in January, so I was hoping to get those from all of you at the December meeting, the signed copy, or else you can email them to me at any time. So, Beth, thank you for submitting it.
I have it too.
Yay, thank you, John. My hero.
You need to have higher standards.
Okay, there's no new business. And seeing that we're done with this, do I hear a movement that we adjourn? A motion.
We can't even vote. We don't have a quorum.
That's right, we can't even vote to adjourn. We're here until we get a quorum.
Perennially.
Okay, with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Could I butt in?